boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever...
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show from the South Texas TV studios. I'm Ash. Brent is gone for a couple of days, but have no fear. I'll steer the ship as best I can. Sheriff Louderback's going to join us this morning. We've got some guests lined up through much of the week, but lots to get to. First, let's start with the Wade and Carter weather, brought to you by the fine folks at AT Deerland Hay Feed and Ranch Services right there on Water Street. Stop on by for all your needs, whether it's farm, home, pet, pest. They've got it all. And they had a good ranch night on Thursday night. They had vendors there that you can speak to. I think there's another one in the works, and I think Jackie's even got some demonstrations of some fencing material that's going to go on a little bit later this week. But for all your needs, as I mentioned, they've got a great assortment of pet foods and great prices, everything you need at Deerland Feed. 52 degrees right now, heading to a high today of 74. Tonight, looking at a low in the 40s, 45, mid-40s, so it might be the coolest night of the year this evening. So, what do y'all think of the eclipse that happened on, I guess it was Saturday afternoon? Personally, kind of underwhelming. It was just me. My location was pretty much stuck with clouds, and they really never parted and gave me much of an opportunity to see the ring of fire. Got a little glimpse of it, but I think it was one of those more build-up than what the end product was. I think what was more exciting to me over the weekend was the weird UFO that people in Victoria had seen on Friday evening. So I don't know if any of you saw it, but it was pretty interesting. Scott Snow, good morning. The Iceman is in. Junior Samples, hope you're doing well, Junior. Junior had surgery on Friday. Rena Scherer, good morning. Kendra Douglas, Scott Tomko. Scott, we're going to get to you in just a minute. Tammy Keeling, good morning. Justin Glass, Bobby Leister. Scott says the eclipse was sweet north of Austin, clear as a bell. You know, I don't know. Maybe there was too much hype. That's all. It just didn't seem to live up to what they were saying. I thought it was going to get darker. Because when you looked at the map, we were like right on the line of like 90% coverage. And I don't know. I thought the buildup was a little more than... If you had a clear view, the Ring of Fire was pretty cool to look at. But the clouds in and around Victoria made it a little more difficult to see. But did anybody else, and I've only seen videos of what was posted, I didn't happen to see it live, but did anybody see the strange light that was in the sky on Friday night? The sun hadn't set yet. It was setting, so it was dusk. But it was a weird deal. Hi, Cowboy. Zed Stewart's here. And
You're all lonesome today.
I am lonesome today. Sheriff Louderback's going to join me, but he's coming by. Brent's chiming in, says the UFO was an X. Oh, yeah, we shifted a little bit. There we go. Thank you, Zed. There we go. The UFO was an X-rocket stage falling to Earth and expelling excess fuel. So it was pretty cool to look at. Appreciate that. And there was a weird pulse. That's what made it even more so strange, was there was a weird pulse, and I guess that would have been the fuel that was being expelled. But pretty cool to look at. It'd be nice if they would tell you these things, though, right? A lot of people were freaking out. I can only imagine what people would think back in the day when they saw some weird extraterrestrial things happening and didn't have an understanding of the technology. Junior Sample says his floors are finished. No access for 3 days, but pics are to come. There we go. Scott Tomko went up and watched his first hockey game. Went and saw the Texas Stars. That was the Dallas Stars farm team, top farm team up in Cedar Park. Says he had a good time. Marvin Mickerson, Dottie Bitterly, Frank Mejia, good morning. Lisa Poole, Diane Tippett, Greg Garcia, Jordan Glass, Heather Stewart, good morning. Beautiful wife Cheryl's checking in. I'm sure T-Lad is in. So the Astros update brought to you by First State Bank. Friendliest bank anywhere. Get by First State Bank. Any of the locations in Victoria, Louise, where it all began, Edna Moulton, Blessing, Sugarland. Brand new location in Sugarland, and they've also got 2 local loan processing offices, so they will take care of all the processing of your loans. They don't send it off to some national center where nobody knows you. These are people that know you. You're going to deal with somebody locally in your branch, and then they're going to weigh in on the processing of the loan, and you'll deal with the great folks at First State Bank. Astros need to borrow a hitter or two. Man. 2-0 shutout. Rangers 6 hits. Astros got 5, but a couple of 2-out rallies. Fell short. Justin Verlander takes the loss. Jordan Montgomery got the win. Montgomery was good. No doubt about it. He got himself into trouble a couple of times, pitched himself out of it, but got to give credit where credit is due, and B. Small might be chiming in, but the Rangers have not lost in the postseason. 6 in a row now for Texas, who kind of limped in to the postseason, but can't fault Justin Verlander, I don't think, but he was just outpitched by Jordan Montgomery. That's what it boils down to. Montgomery goes to 2-0 in the postseason with an ERA of just over 6. Verlander, with the loss, falls to 1-1. His ERA, 1.42. So it's not like JV's pitched well. You know the difference, though, and I think you can see it. Is his velocity isn't where it was. You know, 93, 94. You'll recall a year ago when Verlander was here, his velocity was probably up 2 to 3 more miles per hour per pitch on the fastball anyway. That's the one big difference. But you just don't have that same sort of, as an Astros fan, that same sort of confidence that Verlander is going to get it done, even though he has. And I'm sure it's just a fan thing because they flashed a graphic last night since Verlander was reacquired. 8-2, and the rest of the pitching staff 14-18. That includes the postseason. Bregman just missed tying it up late. Altuve with a base running gaff that you would expect a rookie to make. He stepped past second on that long fly ball by Bregman that was caught right at the wall. And instead of retouching second, and I guess he thought because he stepped on second as he took that step that he didn't need to retouch second, and I'm not sure if the Rangers appealed it, but Major League Baseball took another look at it, and all of a sudden, instead of 1 out, 1 on, there's 2 outs and nobody on in the 8th. And that was kind of it. Stuart Martin checking in. Scott Tomko says Carter's catch in left field was a stunner. I think nobody was more stunned than Carter himself, Scott. He looked a little surprised that he got it because it was close to the wall. I think he was worried about hitting the wall. Man, just missing it. Patricia Nagel checking in. Jarrett McCrugan, Brent Anderson. Cody Bauman, but they'll get back at it this afternoon. 3 o'clock start. I think the game is on Fox and FS1. But good playoff game, though, right down to the wire. Good defense. Mauricio Dubon made a nice diving catch. Our Rangers take game 1 of the ALCS. NLCS begins this evening. Phillies and Arizona. Zach Gallen on the mound for Arizona. Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies. Should be a pretty good one. Evaldi and Valdez go for game 2 of the Rangers in Houston. We called that. I think this one's going 6. Brent has always said it's going 5. They'll split in Houston, and then the Astros, according to Brent, will win all 3 in Arlington. Tammy Keeling says bases were loaded for the Astros in the 4th. Best opportunity to put up runs. Yep, I agree. I think it was Maldonado that struck out. And there goes a little bit to the approach. It seemed with 2 outs they had a different approach, and that was when they got runners on. But they weren't swinging for the fences. Then they load the bases, and Maldonado just didn't seem to have the right approach in my mind. But we'll see what happens today. There's Judge Zeller checking in. He's going to join us tomorrow in studio. Katina Arterberry, good morning. Greg Garcia says John Smoltz was so enamored with the Rangers it became quite sickening. Peter McNally, yeah, Jordan did not have... Jordan was just completely baffled last night. I agree. But I'm sure that'll get sorted out. Take a look at the Astros coaching staff, because I was just curious. It's, obviously Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy. Here's a great thing about this series. You're seeing 2 managers that are destined for the Hall of Fame. They've got over 41, almost 4,200 wins combined, I think, or 4,200 wins combined. 4 World Series titles. I think 7 pennants. Guys that would have played against each other during their playing careers. And now they're getting it done as managers. Bochy with 3 World Series titles with San Francisco. Dusty obviously getting his first with the Astros last year. He's got his work cut out for him this year, though. But the Rangers might be... Well, the Rangers in Arizona, they're the hottest teams in baseball right now. No doubt about it. There's Roy Gutierrez checking in. But game 2 this afternoon, and that's your Astros update brought to you by the great folks at First State Bank. Stop by Power Vita Wellness if you want to not miss an inning of the game or any of the action while you're making dinner. Stop by Power Vita. You can pick something up. It's going to be healthy. It's going to be satisfying. It's going to be flavorful. It's going to be filling. And you take it home. You throw it in the microwave. Depending on the dish, 3.5 minutes on 80% power or 70%. Again, it depends on the dish. I've learned. I know exactly what dish needs to go in for how long. And my favorite is quickly becoming the egg roll in a bowl. I add a little soy sauce to it, a little of the yum yum sauce, and it's awesome. And I read the ingredients out of this from the egg roll in a bowl last week for you. I don't need to rehash it, but there's nothing in there that you can't pronounce. It's all natural and all healthy. And like I said, it's good. But there's your stop today on your way home. As you tell the boss you're not feeling well, so you can go home and watch the game at 3 o'clock. White Trash Services, 550-1826 for weekly pickup, dumpsters, roll-offs, demolition services. Give White Trash a call for the most reliable trash service anywhere. In Victoria County and the 6 contiguous counties, White Trash Services has you covered. Morning to all the folks over there. USA Concrete Coating, 578 home. We'll get those pictures and of the before and afters of Junior Samples floor. They've got it done. Junior likes a challenge, folks. But USA Concrete Coating was up to the challenge. Apparently, whoever did Junior slab did a good job because that was hard concrete. But they got it done, and as he said, 3 days they'll be able to get in there and start living in the home. Built out there on the way to Mission Valley. Rob and Linda's last resort. Wet services for your backup generator needs, all your electrical needs, emergency work on the weekend. That UFO wasn't pulsating fuel. It might have been an electromagnetic pulse. Wet service to get you back up and running if affected. They've got all your favorite brands of generators: Kohler, Cummins, Briggs & Stratton, Generac. And it's your one-stop go-to for backup generator needs. They will install it and get it going. Ricky King checking in from Oklahoma. There's his wife, Amanda. Good morning to you. Junior Samples letting know that for those of you that might have missed it, and many here probably have fond memories of Suzanne Summers. Three's Company was an awesome show. Probably couldn't. I'm surprised the reruns are still available. But there's no way that show's getting made today under the same premise. But Suzanne Summers, guilty of thinking she was a little bigger than she was back in the day. Wanted more money. They said no, and they found a way to replace her, as often happens. But 76 years old. Kind of came along at the same time that Farrah Fawcett and others, Cheryl Teagues, were gracing prepubescent boys' bedrooms with posters. Suzanne Summers had that same effect on many. I think Brent's threatening me now for hold out for more money. Everybody's replaceable, Carter. Even me. Tom Price, good morning. Roy Gutierrez says he can do what he did. Drove to work, parking lot was full, so decided to go home. So they had enough people to cover for the day. So yeah, I got wind of Suzanne Summers passing yesterday. No, Brent had to work out of town. A yearly deal for Brent. Cowboys play tonight, conveniently after the Astros-Rangers game. Taking on the LA Chargers in Los Angeles. No undefeated teams left in the NFL. Philadelphia gets surprised by the Jets. 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 20-14 in New York. Maybe the best thing that happened to the Jets was Aaron Rodgers going down with an injury. And Cleveland with a last-second field goal to beat San Francisco 19-17. Two biggest upsets. Miami maybe looking like the team to beat in the AFC. Man, they look good. Houston got past New Orleans 20-13. C.J. Stroud's interception streak ends, but Texans get a win. They're 3-3. I think we called them being 3-3 at this point. I think we may not have drawn it up exactly as they've done it. Lost a couple of games they probably shouldn't have. and then won a couple of games we didn't expect him to. But sitting at 3-3, picked him for 6 wins, I think. Cowboys at 3-2 need to beat the Chargers tonight. Chargers at 2-2 coming in. So we'll see what happens. Dak needs to redeem himself. There's Steve Kidder checking in. So quietly, Taylor Swift's movie over the weekend pulled in, I think, $96 million in the U.S., $130 million globally. Because she hasn't made enough money this summer with her Eras tour. It becomes the highest grossing concert film ever. I didn't go see it. I don't know if any of you did, or maybe you're all Swifties and wanted to go. Some of you probably maybe took kids or grandkids. But I've never got into concert films. I've never gotten into televised concerts. They lack something. And I don't know. I don't have a desire to go see a film about a performer performing a concert. Apparently I'm one of few that feel that way because it grossed $130 million on its opening weekend. It's a pretty solid showing at the box office. I don't think it'll get her an Oscar nomination or anything like that. But I also don't understand all the hate for Taylor Swift. Heather Stewart says it lacks the interaction. I agree, and that's probably what's missed. I have yet to see a live concert, whether it's televised, whether it's a film, that captures what seeing the performer live and in person does. I think that's what it is for me. There's Matt Boucher checking in, David Glass, Cody Bauman. But I also don't understand the hatred towards Taylor Swift. Is it pure jealousy? She has some catchy songs. I actually liked her better when she was actually trying to be a country artist but she knew the play, and that was to go pop. And so she knew what she needed. David Glass, good morning. Cody Bauman says you need better speakers and performance lights in your living room. Maybe so. Maybe that's what it is. I just don't have the setup. My Vizio soundbar just isn't doing it. Jared McCrugan, I will agree with that. Only one came close for me, and that was watching the Tragically Hip's last concert, which was televised live. I will agree. And as much as I malign the CBC, but I think also, though, Jared, I think something that, and for those of you that don't know the Tragically Hip, Canadian rock band, kind of alt rock band, came of age in the late 80s, early 90s, and had a huge following in Canada. Actually had a huge following even in the northern states, like New York, Spokane, Seattle. They kind of played along in that. But Boston, they had a huge following, but they never really made it big commercially. And I think a couple of reasons for that. It wasn't the music. I think their lyrics were too Too Canadian. Too many, too much imagery of Canada in their lyrics. And I think that's why they never got the mainstream success in the U.S. But I know a lot of Americans that like him. I turned a lot of Americans onto the hip when I was at school. But I think one reason for that concert, and it's available online, is it was in London, Ontario. So it wasn't in a big concert venue, smaller setting, and I think it just translated well. Junior Sample says Taylor Swift's behavior after the breakup is like she dates for the hit song. Hey, you write what you know about. That's what the songwriters always tell you, right? And if all she knows about is breakups, well, she never names names. I mean, you kind of have to guess who she's talking about. Heather Stewart says John Michael Montgomery and Gary P. Nunn were great at Turkey Fest over the weekend. There's Judge Posey checking in. Good morning to you, sir. Has any country ever had the external pressures on it like Israel is facing in the wake of consistent, constant terrorist attacks by Hamas, and prior to Hamas, the PLO and what was his name? Yasser Arafat? Israel amassing thousands, hundreds of thousands of troops on the border with Gaza. And I think if there's a lesson to be learned from the Israeli standpoint for us, is that border wall that we want to build and that Joe Biden's building won't, or rebuilding, continuing to build, is that can't be the be-all and end-all. Now we've got to figure out where did Hamas come up with all the missiles that they used to completely inundate the Iron Dome that Israel uses to protect itself from random missile attacks here and there, the odd missile attack, a few missiles at a time, never the number that we saw Columbus Day weekend. You know, they breached the border. They used, from what I read, hang gliders even. Armored vehicles, anything they get a hold of. Here's a great show of our president having the back of Israel. Less than a week after telling Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that we've got your back, but over the weekend, President Biden warns Israel not to reoccupy Gaza. For those that may not remember, may not understand, may have fallen by the propaganda that is the media, Israel hasn't occupied Gaza since 2005. They left there 18 years ago. in a show of peace, saying if we give up the land, we expect peace. Well, the Palestinians and Hamas and those that were left behind didn't want the peace. They don't want the peace. They have one end in sight, and that is to eradicate the Jewish people. Jonathan Williams says, not reoccupy doesn't mean he can't wipe it out. Well, but that leads me to my point, Jonathan. Is there a country that has ever asked to have the strings attached to a reaction to a terror attack like Israel constantly has? After 9/11, there were no strings attached to the U.S. going after Osama bin Laden. But Israel drops leaflets. They actually send missiles with no detonators or no explosive devices on them. They're not live. And they send them to their intended targets. They fire them into the targets. Yeah, they might knock a hole in the wall, but they're not destroying the building as a warning. The next one won't be a dud. Who does that but the Israelis? They tell them to get out. Turns out Hamas holding more hostages than previously thought. But there's nobody on the face of the earth that has to have the strings attached to a response to being attacked by terrorists like Israel. Jonathan Williams says, nope, Israel should just give Biden the middle finger because he'll forget about it by the next day. Absolutely. So, I mean, the attack is imminent. It's coming. Netanyahu's not just lining up forces along the border just to show strength. But the other and they're providing the humanitarian aid. They're cut off a lot of things. Oh, Israel, you're big and mean and bad. You've cut off power. Why doesn't Egypt provide power? Why hasn't Egypt provided the infrastructure? Egypt doesn't want Hamas there. Hamas has generated and done nothing but create a generation of poorly educated people who have no discernible skills because they're not allowed to have any and cannot be productive members of society except to provide the human shields that Hamas requires of them. They've been brainwashed through the propaganda. Tens of billions of dollars of humanitarian aid has flown into that region, and Hamas has it all. It's one of the most desirable locations of land that you could probably have. You're right on the water. And it's a mess, and it's not from Israelis bombing it. It's because they don't want their people to have anything. Because then they can control them, then they can continue to use them. And it's why Egypt doesn't want them. They don't want Hamas. Now, let's be honest, some of those missiles that Hamas fired into Israel on Columbus weekend probably came through Egypt. There's really only two borders. I doubt they went through Israel to get to Hamas so Hamas could fire them back. But Egypt doesn't want them because they know the problems they're going to bring. Take a break, and Sheriff Louderback will join us. Palace Bingo. Next week, where friends will meet friends. Wade and Carter night. We'll figure out the night. Leaning towards Tuesday, but when Brent gets back, we'll figure that out and sort it up and button it down, and we'll get it sorted. Grey Barn Mercantile, Grey Barn Design. Talk to Cheryl for all your design needs for weddings, birthdays. Christmas is coming up. She can make your house look very festive. 920-6803 is the number to call, or stop by the Grey Barn Mercantile on Airline and Laurent. Open today at 10. And you can outfit your home. She's got great pieces in there that will help accent your home. She's got some furniture as well. And she'll give you advice and can even help you decorate your home as well. Atzenoffer, South Texas Tradition since 1926. Atzenoffer.com. Stop on by. See Tommy Taylor and the gang for your next new or pre-owned vehicle. Atzenoffer has you covered as they have since 1926. Armor Air, now's the time, folks. If you want, going to be a little chilly tonight, 45 degrees, the overnight low. You're going to turn that heater on in the morning, and all you're going to smell is that burning dust. Armor Air can also take care of the duct cleaning for you as well. So give them a call, 579-0966. And stop on by the chopping block. If you're lucky, they still got a little bit of that ground beef for sale for $5 a pound, cheaper than anywhere else around. 80/20 Black Angus lean ground beef. Awesome. Flavorful. Just the right amount of fat in there. And now I'm joined by Sheriff Louderback. Thank you, sir, for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing well.
Good,
Thanks,
good.
sir.
So, you're ex-Army, correct?
Air
Air
Force.
Force, sorry. Didn't mean to denigrate you there.
They're good knuckle draggers.
What do you make of the Israeli situation? Have you ever seen any country that has their hands tied behind their back from the get-go and trying to retaliate or respond to attacks? They've never, from what I mean, I don't remember a time when Israel has attacked the Gaza Strip without being provoked.
Well, since earliest history, even from the biblical days, there has been no Palestinian state. So this is an issue that has long been a problem since '48, and they've been under constant war since that time. That's how they live. Your wife goes to the grocery store. She may not come back, but she's going to leave with her 9mm and her Israeli military rifle. And that's just what they do. That's the mindset that they have there. And so I think they have public opinion in their. I think there should be no guilt for Israel responding with true military force in this area. I just hope that they will go ahead and put an end to the Hamas issue, which really ends in Tehran, Iran, because this entire process was initiated out of Tehran. A real true enemy there in the region, and I think some of the end game could always be another Middle Eastern war. So I think there's a lot of things at play here. What's the big picture? I think you have to look at that with some vision as to why did they do what they did. I think there's a greater plan. So I'm concerned about that. As the chaos of the world today, based upon what the Biden administration has brought to bear, is we'll pay a heavy consequence for that. I'm afraid we already are paying it.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a plan there to weaken the U.S. or at least draw down some of our ability to respond to something? We're sending arms and money to Ukraine. Now we've promised arms to Israel. I mean, if we keep giving off all away our stockpiles, we no longer have stockpiles if we need them.
No, I believe that one of the end games in the world has been the destruction or changing of the U.S. system. And anything in that, they seize weakness. And they seize. It's just the timing and history is right for the political situation we have right now. For so many bad things to happen, and so many world cataclysmic issues are going on right now. When you step back and don't worry about your Walmart and HEB trips, and you take a look at what's going on in the U.S. today. And outside of the U.S., you see a very a picture of probably the weakest the U.S. has been in my lifetime, and I think
weaker than Jimmy Carter.
I don't remember so much back then, but I would say so. I would believe so, because back in the Carter days, we weren't dealing with the southern border, and the border issue is the mass damage today and in the future is what we're really going to have to contend with. So, for example, in the Darien Gap now, and this is a section of jungle that all the South American countries have to come through.
Used to be the deadliest stretch of the trip from South America basically through Mexico and into the U.S.
Well, let me tell you that
they've cut roads into there now.
There's roads. It's actually a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
It's actually replaced the local economies in these countries who used to be a farming community, whether they had any other businesses. They've left those businesses. They've left those farms, and they're now employed in the passage of humans. So it's unbelievable. A good friend of mine just went through the Darien Gap and went almost 3/4 of the way filming what was going on. I've had access to that video, and it is amazing at the flow of humans. Like right now, what's in the gap today is coming towards the Texas border.
It's funny that the people that come through there don't show up as family units until they get close to our border. Well, when the cartel reunite them with strange kids that they've kidnapped along the way.
Well, it's good to think about for your listenership here. It's really good to think about the cartel is a massive worldwide travel agency, and that's
booking vacations nobody willingly wants to go on.
Truly, they're actually selling packages of transport, packages of they're just a travel agency is what they are, with a very cruel and violent nature to them. But that's what you see doing, and so what the U.S. is preparing for is it's always been a national security effort. Above all, it's a national security issue. You can't bring in 15,000 and not expect massive changes in the infrastructure of this country. But that's what we have in front of us today. There are a few bright spots that are going on that where the as best we can, the cartel of blow. And that's in Starr County right now. And, on a new piece of property that Commissioner Don Buckingham was the one who got this going and actually claimed this land, and it went through the legal system and is now Texas property. And that's one of the most violent areas on the entire Texas border, on the southern border actually. And it's Fronten Island, and it has long been a stronghold, long been and I've got pictures here today that it is about 90% cleared today. So the heavy vegetation and growth of storage of firearms and humans and narcotics,
Cartel were
especially.
using it, right? That was
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of that was their midway.
Oh yeah, it's long been a problem, and really you might ask yourself, why hadn't the federal government done anything? No concerted effort there, and it's dangerous, very dangerous. I was on the island last week, and shots rang out from the Mike side, from the Mexico side, and we had to leave the island at that point in time. So there's nightly gun battles, and these are not just normal gun battles. These are M60 type gun battles where
Wow.
we have fully automatic weapons and fully automatic heavy weapons that are not small arms fire. So you have Cartel de Noreste, who is challenging the Cartel de Golfo for this property because it's very, very profitable. And so they're going at it pretty hard. I'm headed down there today, and we'll be on the island this afternoon. As to what's going. But that island will be secured. It'll be surveillance. There'll be new road that's down there that Border Patrol can access, and we reclaimed an area of Starr County that has been really off limits to U.S. Law enforcement.
When you say cleared and
Reduced to sand.
yeah,
Reduced to sand. Yep. All brush removed. All brush cleared. But the 2-year,
aren't the environmentalists going to get upset?
maybe, with a 2-year plan of controlled growth. So there's it's not going to come back, or at least for that funding's there for 2 years.
Will we then man that? Will we have troops there, or National Guard, or
Very likely.
DPS, or somebody
Very
will
likely.
be there to?
With access and view, comes control. So that's the whole goal. That's what we're going to achieve there. Removing probably the number one stronghold for the Gulf cartels use. So that's a good blow. That's a positive here, in the U.S. as far as what we've done to the cartels.
I know
Texas is done.
Yeah, and then there's a special legislative session, and the border is key to that session. What role will the land commissioner's office have in helping secure the border if things get done the way that Governor Abbott wants them done this special session?
Well, advising the state senators and House reps, an advisory role is something I've already been engaged in. What he's attempting to pass here on this special is of course legislation to try and start to take control of the camps that are coming about in the Liberty County issue, which is a huge encampment with land sales going on, and it's really just been a terrible mess. Drone footage of the area looks pretty rough.
Oh, it's a shanty town.
Yeah.
It is. It's terrible.
It looks pretty rough.
I mean, these are supposedly, they're supposedly HOAs or at least, building restrictions, 1,800 square feet, two car garage, that sort of thing. And they're putting up tents and living in broken down RVs. I mean, there's it's for anybody who may have bought in that area thinking it was going to be your dream, it's your neighbors are the cartels and those that they move in and out of there.
Yeah, illegal aliens. But that's the real goal, other than school vouchers, is for us to be able to arrest Texas law enforcement, to be able to arrest illegal aliens on our soil here in Texas. This will automatically set up Texas versus U.S. and will pretty much replicate some of the things that were also filed in Arizona versus U.S. 14 years ago. and this will probably fast track it to the Supreme Court to determine whether or not a border state, can take back some control of their own border as a state here. So it has major implications in our legal structure, and it'll be interesting to see the debates. These same bills did not pass during the regular session this year, and were stopped in the House, stopped on the House calendar. So one bill that we could have, one of the most significant, influential, impactful bills we could have had would have been E-Verify. And that sat on the House calendar for 6 weeks before Senator Colcourse removed it. It wasn't going to go anywhere.
Remember that, folks.
Yeah. E-Verify is unequivocally one of the best tools we would have to uncover the fraud that's going on in our state and in this country today.
I mean, I mean, it'll make it easier, but until the federal government starts doing something with those that are habitually breaking our immigration laws, coming back after deportation, is it a waste of time and money at this point?
No, it isn't. I think you have to, for a very long time now, and I've been in this border game long before anyone else was involved in it, talking about the problems that we've had because of 44 years of dealing with the cartel, 59. But early on, if you don't make Texas unattractive to come here, and you don't cut the incentives for coming here, you don't cut the money. That's the flow of money to these illegals that come across is huge, and there's 11 different issues of advantage that they have when they come across here, from education to hospitalization to legal help. It's the money that they get, and I think you have to make it unattractive to come here. Therefore, you really cut the federal government off at its knees, because they're not going to get much. So, I think the state of Texas, can do more in this respect to make it difficult to exist here, difficult to work here, which many of them are going to go to work at some place under a false name. Not so much our cartel operatives. They're going to go into the life of crime and be dealt with through criminal justice, and we hope. But it's definitely something that was doable, something we should have actively pursued to pass.
Well, Roy Gutierrez says flow of money won't stop until our government stops funding the NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are aiding and abetting under the guise of humanitarian aid.
Well, they're completing the trip for the cartel now.
Yeah.
So that's, but yes, that's truly a
they've been
major player.
They've had to have been infiltrated by the cartels. There's no way that they haven't been. But there's so much money now probably coming from both sides to these NGOs. They're not giving it up.
No.
Their CEOs live like kings and queens.
Yeah, the buses are still rolling. Yeah.
What could Texas do? Could they stop the wire transfers from going back?
We certainly could have. We could have stopped the remittance with a remittance bill. We could have done that. We had a remittance bill that I took to several. Just lack of interest, really, is what I brought it down to. But remittance bill would help. Also, some states, Oklahoma, for instance, with remittance bills have funded additional. This is a source of income for the state, a very large source of income. But, and that's a percentage of the money being sent by Western Union would go to a state fund. So it's called a remittance bill, where any money that's on the Green River of cash flowing back to Mexico or other countries, if it's going out of the country, then there's a remittance bill attached to that.
Why don't we just stop the flow of money to other countries or those that we don't? I mean,
You don't
that we
stop
don't
the
want to.
flow,
Well,
you
you
just-
can't stop the flow, but
you
there
take-
are countries we don't want to. We don't want. I mean, it's I don't know. There are countries that we don't want to stop the flow of, or that
Sure.
we do,
Yeah.
as well.
I think it's going to be. I don't know what the bill would look like passed in its form, but clearly it's been talked about for some time as a legislative fix.
This
Just
federal,
another
this
little
federal,
portion.
this federal government would rather keep tabs on your $600 transactions than money flowing out to fund the cartels. It tells you all you need to know about where they are. Take a break, and then we'll be back in just a moment with Sheriff Louderback. But Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300, saw an Allen's truck on the road on the weekend. They had a pickup truck on the back of that flatbed, and they were taking it where it needed to go. Front end was damaged, but Allen's got it where it needed to go, and they can take care of you and your ride if and when you ever need them. Make sure they're in your phone, 361-578-6300, the only one we ever call. VCS companies, all part of the locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer, or they are part of the VCS companies. And right now you can get an iPhone 15 Pro at the locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer. Stop on by. They're taking trades, and they will get you into a brand new iPhone as quickly and conveniently and as painlessly as possible right there on Code Boulevard. Chesnick Furniture Company, Bobby Leon and the gang. Only been doing what they've been doing for 105 years now, and that's selling you and the Crossroads, the furniture that helps make your house a home. 116 West Wan Lynn is where they're located. Stop on by, talk to Bobby. They've got furniture for every room in your house, all the accoutrements. Washers, dryers, American made, American built. You can help support America by shopping Chesnick Furniture Company in Veracruz. Back open today. Simply the best Mexican food in town. Stop on by, get your fill. If nothing else, maybe some chips and queso and guacamole for the Astros game this afternoon. So, Sheriff Louderback joining us. A little tight there. We'll bring it back to the two-shot. Switch gears and put your law enforcement hat on. I've gone through the LTC class with you. Over the weekend, there was some gunplay at the State Fair in Dallas. Familiar with this incident?
No, not really. I hadn't seen much about it.
From what I understand, a couple of yahoos got into it at the food court. They were known to each other and exchanged gunfire. I'm guessing, being the State Fair, you can't carry weapons onto the grounds of the State Fair. Do you know?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they were putting in place there, whether they had 3006 signs, whether it was a 4603 prohibited place for weapons. I'm not sure how they handle it there at their State Fair. Hadn't been there recently to see what kind of signage they had up or anything like that, or whether or not that these were LTC carriers or whether they were just the permitless carriers under 1927, the House bill, which is called constitutional carry. So permitless carry is what I call it. So I'm not sure what their status was in that area, or how the grounds of the State Fair are actually handled for that.
Okay.
They may have been on there illegally with the weapons, and you could expect charges for that.
If they were there legally and were shooting, what would you?
Well, if they were there legally, then you're going to have to look at the investigation and what that reveals on the story as to whether or not that was facts are going to be a lawful shoot of self-defense with a legal justification for that, or if that didn't exist from one way or the other. And that's just it was an aggravated charge down there.
Okay.
Fox News there. Aggravated assault charge after injury. Yeah. So someone was clearly arrested.
Yeah, 3 people were injured. Looks like this guy took it in the hand. Aggravated assault. Shooting happened near the food court Saturday night about 8 o'clock. Dallas police say it sparked from a conflict between two people who knew each other. Weapons are prohibited on the fairgrounds, though there is an exception for those who are properly licensed.
Okay, so if you had an LTC, you're able to go on there.
So no constitutional carry or permitless carry, apparently,
No,
right?
no LTC only. That was what that would mean.
So let's assume that they're licensed to carry. How could you deter something like this from happening again? From what I understand, these two guys got into it and then shots were fired. 3 people were injured. I don't know if any of them. Obviously, the gunman wasn't hit.
Well, clearly you have a situation where some type of altercation started, probably verbal, which escalated into physical, then a weapons fight. Once somebody pulled a weapon, it's pretty dang simple. When can I shoot someone in Texas? And, that's an issue that is steeped in legal language and legal doctrine about that. But in this case, someone was charged here. So we have probably the aggressor in this issue, which either provoked the other person or pulled a weapon, and then most likely the other weapon was pulled and shots were fired at that point in time, which fear of imminent fear of death or serious bodily injury caused that weapon to be pulled, and that's what he's going to rest his case on for a justification under Texas law.
If licensed to carry.
Yes, if licensed to carry. So that's what it's going to hinge on is whether or not procedurally he did everything correct and legally he did everything correct in order to fire those shots.
I don't know. My gut's telling me that there was no license to carry involved here.
Yeah. We'll see.
They've been slow coming with a lot of the details in this, so that always tells me what you need to know when it comes to these sorts of things.
Maybe additional charges that come about from that.
Sheriff, safe travels down to the border. We're out of time, but please report back. Let us know what you find down there and how much things have changed. You said they're still in the process of clearing that island, or?
Yeah, I expect this week there'll be. We finish up. There was a strip there which was next to the water, which we were using for really for bullet defilade for the operators of the heavy equipment on there. So the last phase of this will be removing that 60-foot wide strip of brush and trees along the river's edge that will culminate the end of the operation. Probably the most dangerous part, but got to be done. So we'll have boats, aircraft, and drones, and everything else over there monitoring the other side.
Are they firing at the workers to try to stop them from completing the jobs?
Haven't had a case where they fired directly at, but there's been gunshots ringing out all the time over there. It's and where the muzzle has to go, you have ricochets. You've got other areas that happen when you get involved in large scale gunfights.
Crazy stuff.
Thank you very much.
No, appreciate it. Thanks. Safe travels, and we'll see you all mañana. Bye, folks.
Good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way.